Welcome to Famous Graves Podcast. I am your host, Mike Knox, coming to you from a brand new studio. Just wanted to say that the Dow dropped 500 points. I don't know if you're into the stock market or not. There is a pretty good documentary about, I can't remember the name of the documentary, but I think it's called Eat the Rich. But basically about the little guys were thinking that they were going to get rich by investing, a few dollars on this app Robinhood. And there's another one out there called Acorn now. But basically, when you find out at the end, it's really, it was the hedge funds that were running Robinhood. It was a broker guy that was out there on the internet ranting and raving about how you had to buy GameStop stock. So it's pretty interesting just to see the I would say, stock manipulation and how easily it is to get people all excited and emotional. And stock market, I don't know anything about it. I'm just in it for the long game. Mine's dropped 50 grand. That's 50 with the K for the kids out there. And I'm pretty disappointed in it. And I can't complain about it. All I can do is report that this sucks. But in the news, I was quite happy. California Assembly Bill 1810 passed. There were quite a few bills that were signed by our governor, but I'm proud of our governor because he signed the Smart Seizure Act, which basically I've been trying to get passed for the last 5 years, and I think I've ranted and raved about that a few times, but it finally got signed. It was a long haul, and people did put in a lot of work for it, and I'm just happy that it got passed. And the reason is now there were no laws in the state of California, so you could be discriminated against for having epilepsy, having seizures. These schools did not have to recognize you. So, for example, I would bring my daughter's medication to the campus, and they would say, nope, you can't have this. It's against the teachers' union. It's against the nurses' union. And I would point out, but you have EpiPens for kids who are allergic to food. No, it doesn't matter. There's no laws. We don't have to recognize epilepsy. So that's why that bill that law now is a great law. And I know it's going to take some time, but there were no laws whatsoever on the books. Epilepsy is way underfunded. That's the reason that I am starting to work on the Epilepsy Foundation Hollywood, just trying to get the word out there. It's basically to focus on the bullying that's going on social media. Because again, there's no laws that tells anybody that they can't bully people who have epilepsy and seizures. So again, folks out there, you don't need to fake a seizure. And you certainly don't need to do that and film it and think that it's funny, because it's not funny, and that stigma needs to stop. And I'm calling everybody out on that one. And I'm actually going to do a list of movies later on that there's still movies that are doing it, there's still TV shows that are doing it, still making fun of people with seizures. But anyways, I digress. So I can't really say I'm a fisherman. I like the idea of fishing. But I don't want to put in the long hours, so I'm more of a lazy fisherman. But I do like when fishing stories come about. And basically this week you had, because there's always these competitions and stuff, and I had a friend who gave it a try as a pro bass fisherman, and it really is a grind. You're on a circuit, it's costing you a lot of money. I know that he made a lot in 1 year and got a lot of sponsors, and then wasn't doing as well the next year. When he first started out, he was, pretty much living out of his truck. So I think it's a young man's game in the beginning, but if you can go longer. But there's always somebody who's going to work an angle. There's always going to be somebody that cheats. I think it was in the 80s where there were actually caught two guys that had bought like 10-pound bass at a store. So when they weighed them out, they were still frozen. But these places, the lakes and the rivers, and they're huge, so it wouldn't be very hard for somebody to have like a largemouth bass there that's still alive in your boat that you bought somewhere else. Not saying that it happens, but it happens. And so this week it was two anglers there were stripped of their winning title after a tournament official discovered lead weights inside the fish that they caught. I don't know how much that's going to give you. Is that really going to give you much of an edge, putting lead weights inside the fish's mouth. But the anglers had been competing in the Lake Erie Walleye Trail Championships. Suspicions were raised at the weigh-in, which is always where suspicions lie. When the fish weighed almost double their competitors. In the world of competitive fishing, by adding the weights to the fish, the two men's total poundage increased and put them on the top of the leaderboard. When the weights were discovered, the duo were immediately disqualified. You know what? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. In the fishing world, I guess. But those are the stories that I like about fishing. Because, let's face it, fishing can be kind of boring. So you need these scandals in the fishing community. Also, there's been a big scandal going on in the chess community and also the poker community. But I kind of see both sides to it. I see where you're creating this press because chess, I love to play chess, but digital chess, because I don't want to have to sit across from somebody because I'm an introvert. But chess is so boring if you've ever actually gone to watch people play chess. And chess has been around a very long time, and so they have their stars of chess. And so apparently there's this young kid, and he admitted that he cheated twice when he was like 12 and 14. So now that he's, older and an adult, people are like, well, he's still cheating. And he's, I think that he, the way that he sits, he's probably got something up his ass, that's signaling to other people. And my thing is that if you're playing chess professionally and you have to go to great lengths to shove something up there, good for you. But, then that transpired, or that rumor took off over into the poker, where they were accusing a female poker champion of doing kind of the same thing. And I'm just thinking, it's 2022, so do we really need to go prison style? I would just imagine that it didn't have to be inserted. It could just be, I'm sure there's some sort of, I don't know, I saw the movie Casino, and they had that stuff in the 60s and 70s, some sort of electronic device that was strapped upon your leg. So couldn't it be in a ring or a necklace, or why does it have to be inserted into you? That's where I draw the line, basically. That's where I think that if they're really going to cheat, they can come up with a little better technology. I mean, pretty much every bumblebee that I see now and dragonfly, I'm convinced that those are little drones. So there's got to be some other cheating technique up there. And I realize that most likely there's probably quite a few people that are cheating in poker because it's cards, and sleight of hand gets me every single time. Also, this week there's I can't remember what the hurricane was in Florida, but basically ripped everything apart. I mean, if you see some pictures, it's just devastating. Where if you don't know Florida, a lot of Florida is connected. Like they I can't remember the name of the book, but there was a guy that actually wrote a book, and it was this engineering phenomenal that they did, and it was connecting basically little islands and whatever little inlets, whatever it could, just traveling miles and miles and miles of a highway. And then when the hurricanes come in, they just rip these roads apart, and people who have been warned to evacuate and they didn't, well, now they're stuck. And you know what, but everybody in Florida's got a boat, so I'm sure that they're okay. But really it was, some of these places you're seeing, very nice cars turned over, classic cars turned over, but just total devastation. It makes you just think, like, why did they even try to build there in the first place? But I'm sure I'm sure people live 20 years in those, think about it. You're living the island life. So what's a little hurricane going to do? Everybody's just going to rebuild anyways. But so there was a Coast Guard diver that was congratulated by the president for rescuing Florida residents. But he's about to get fired because he's unvaccinated, as are 20,000 other military members. And I'm not going to take a position on this, but you've already told everybody that the pandemic is over. So now you're going to fire somebody and you're going to call the guy up and say, especially the Coast Guard, because I got to tell you, out of all the military branches, some of these Coast Guard guys and gals being dropped off like 5 miles or 5 hours out from any sort of land, and then you're dropping into the water, and and then there's not enough gas in the helicopter, so you're left there for a couple more hours rescuing people. Seen some of these freighters or fishing ships that have been like the Rogue Wave hits them and stuff, and then the Coast Guard gets out there, and it's freezing, it's cold, it's water, it's windy, it's not fun. To me, that's a crazy job. The Coast Guard folks, and I think that's just me personally, that I don't really like boats. That's why I don't live in Florida. Also in this week with another law in California was decriminalized, which is jaywalking. And I got to tell you, I see people jaywalk all the time. People are now on their phones. They're walking across the streets. I know it's annoying, but at the same time, see, this is where I'm down the middle on this, is that jaywalking is stupid. It's a stupid law. We have legs and we're walking, and then the police like to hide, jump out and write you a ticket, and then just waste your time. And the reason that I say this is that I believe I was 15 or 16. I'm just trying to get to high school. And there's no parking anywhere because they haven't invented parking, and so we got to park like across the street, and we're running. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. So then the police are hiding in the bushes, and jump out, and they're telling us to stop, and they're making us late for school, and they write me a ticket, and the ticket's like, I think at the time it was like $40. And but I was a minor, so then I had to have my parents go with me. We had to go to Pasadena court for a jaywalking ticket. I have to go to court for a jaywalking ticket. There's a total guy there that's got a knife. He's got like a knife out, and he's graffitiing the chair in front of us. And it's Pasadena, so I don't know if they fixed up Pasadena, but it was it was a dump. And I just felt like, wow, what a waste of time. I had to sit there for a couple hours and had to go in front of a judge and explain why I jaywalked. And my only answer is because it's easier to jaywalk. Why would I walk 2 blocks down and then push the button to cross the street and then walk 2 blocks the other way? It's going to, take a good 15 minutes. And then I had to sit there and be polite and listen to the judge tell, wonk, 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 tell me, what a horrible person I was just for jaywalking. And I was just thinking the entire time, like, there's people out there murdering people right now. There's crimes going on. There's a guy there's a guy vandalizing the chairs out there, and you guys don't care. And that's when I realized early on that a lot of these tickets is just revenue for the city. And I know that they lie about that and say that they don't. But, come on, you're hiding in the bushes, 2 cops hiding in the bushes, and you're jumping out to accost 2 teenagers. And so that is why I'm glad that, again, Newsom signed that law also. So Newsom, I like the fact that you signed that law, and the epilepsy law also. Some bad news this week in NFL. My favorite guy, Terry Bradshaw, quarterback of the Steelers, revealed that he is battling cancer. He says that he is good. He had a mishap on air. But I got to tell you, man, if you're a believer, pray for old Terry, because he seems to me like he's a good guy. And he was just a great football player, and I've always admired him. So an actor, George Kennedy. He, of course, was in the Naked Gun series. He was born George Harris Kennedy, February 18th, 1925. American actor who appeared in more than 100 film and television productions. He played Dragline opposite Paul Newman in Cool Hand Luke, winning the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor for his role and being nominated for a Golden Globe 1967. He received a second Golden Globe nomination for portraying Joe Petroni in Airport 1970, the Airport series. I think he did 4 of those movies. And that, of course, was the catalyst for the great films Airplane. He among the notable films he was a significant role in was Cool Hand Luke, Straight Jacket, McHale's Navy, The Sons of Katie Elder, The Flight of the Phoenix, The Dirty Dozen, The Boston Strangler, Good Guys and Bad Guys, Airport, Earthquake. And I don't know why they don't mention Naked Gun. Shame on you, Wikipedia. Kennedy was the only actor to appear in all 4 films in the Airport series, reprising his role 3 times. He played the police captain, Ed Hawken, there we go, in Naked Gun series, along with O.J. Simpson and Leslie Nielsen. He was born in New York into a showbiz family. His father was a musician and orchestra leader. He died when his son was 4 years old. He was raised by his mother, Helen, a ballet dancer, and his grandfather, who was a German immigrant. His other ancestry is Irish and English. Kennedy made his stage debut at the age of two, touring in a touring company, Bringing Up Father, and by the age of 7 was a New York City radio DJ. Wow, really? At the age of 7. Kennedy enlisted in the United States Army in World War II in 1943. He served 16 years, reaching the rank of captain. Kennedy served in the infantry under George S. Patton, fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and earned 2 Bronze Stars. He re-enlisted after the war and was discharged in the 1950s due to a back injury. Wow, that's crazy that he was in World War II under George S. Patton. His notable screen role was a military policeman on the TV sitcom The Phil Silver Show, where he served as a technical advisor and stated that it was a great training ground for acting. He followed up in other films and then was in Dirty Dozen, The Boston Strangler. In 1970, he appeared in the Academy Award-winning movie Airport. I can't even remember if I've seen Airport. I gotta go back and watch that one. In which he played one of its main characters, airline troubleshooter Joe Petroni. He reprised that role in 1975, 1977, and the film The Concorde, 1979. The Concorde isn't even around anymore. Very sad. The Airport franchise helped inspire the Zucker-Abrams, and I've met Abrams. He's a cool guy. And Zucker's satire Airplane, in which the filmmakers hoped to cast Kennedy as the bumbling plane dispatcher. The role went to Lloyd Bridges because Kennedy couldn't kill off his airport cash cow, Jerry Zucker said in 2010. Kennedy co-starred with Clint Eastwood in 2 films, Thunderbolt and Lightfoot, and the Eiger's Sanction. He also starred in the TV series The Sarge, which ran from 1971 to 1972 on NBC, and The Blue Knight, which is Joseph Wambaugh's book. I don't know if Sarge is, though. I'm sure that it is. But The Blue Knight was a good book, and that ran for 24 episodes, 1975, 1976. And The Blue Knight is about the LAPD, and I believe he played Bumper in that one. Kennedy made his final film appearance in The Gambler 2014 as Ed, the dying grandfather of Mark Wahlberg's character. His role lasts for less than 2 minutes during the film's opening scene. Ed, moments before his death, puts all responsibilities to his heartbroken son. For his contributions to motion pictures, Kennedy received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame at 6352 Hollywood Boulevard in Hollywood. He also wrote 3 books. In 1983, he wrote the murder mystery Murder on Location. A second novel, Murder on High, was released in 1984, and in 2011 he wrote his autobiography, Trust Me. I gotta get those books. I didn't even know he wrote them. It's pretty cool he's writing mystery books. I think mystery books are kind of a lost art now because we have the internet, but in the 80s they were piping hot. Kennedy was friends with James Stewart and provided the voiceover in Turner Classic Movies' mini tribute to Stewart. Kennedy was an aviator who enjoyed flying and owned a Cessna 210 and a Beechcraft Bonanza. Following his experiences working for the Far East Network during World War II and his professional involvement with Proof of Men and Virus, Kennedy maintained a lifelong affinity for Japan and its cultures. Kennedy was living in Eagle, Idaho. I've actually had people on TikTok say that they knew him in Eagle, Idaho, and he's a really nice guy. He died February 28, 2016, of heart problems at an assisted facility in Middleton, Idaho. 10 days after his 91st birthday. He had a history of heart disease. He had also been greatly affected by the death of his 4th wife. He was married 4 times to 3 different women, I do believe. At the time of his death, he was the oldest Oscar winner in the Best Supporting Actor category. Coincidentally, he died on the 88th Academy Awards ceremony. His death passed the title to Martin Landau, who himself would pass away the following year. Wilson, who was, just in my opinion, a hero of mine. He started out in serious films, but then he was doing a lot of comedy, and I just like the fact he could really deliver his lines deadpan. That was one of my favorite things about him. But he was born Leslie William Nielsen, February 11th, 1926. He was a Canadian-American dramatic comedy actor with a career spanning 60 years. He appeared in more than 100 films and 150 television programs, portraying more than 220 characters. He was born in Saskatchewan. After graduating high school, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force in 1943, served until the end of World War II. Upon his discharge, he worked as a disc jockey before receiving a scholarship to study theater at the neighborhood playhouse. He made his acting debut in 1950, appearing in 46 live television programs. Nielsen made his film debut in 1956 with a supporting role in several dramas and westerns and romance films between the 1950s and 1970s. Although his notable performances in films Forbidden Planet and The Poseidon Adventure gave him standing as a serious actor, he gained recognition for his deadpan comedy, which I said before, his roles in the 1980s with the Zucker Brothers and Jim Abrahams' comedy film Airplane. In the comedy roles, Nielsen specialized in portraying characters oblivious to what was going on in his surroundings. His performance in Airplane marked his turning point, which made him the king of the spoofs. That's what Roger Ebert, who is no longer around, but for all you kids out there, he was a film critic. He had further successes in the Naked Gun film series, and also Police Squad, which was basically Naked Gun but on TV, and I think that only lasted like a year. But basically a spoof on the police, which I think we need desperately once again. He was born in 1926. His mother was immigrated from Wales, and his father was Danish-born and was a constable in the Royal Mounted Police. He was born that's pretty interesting. I wonder if he channeled some of his dad's into his characters as Frank Drebin. Nielsen was born the second of two boys to his parents. His elder brother was a longtime Canadian member of Parliament. I did not know that. Cabinet Minister and Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, 1984 to 1986. He also has another brother from his father's other relationship. His half-uncle was Gene Hershot, and I've done Gene's... basically, there's the Gene Hershot Acting Award, and if you go to Forest Lawn, Glendale, there's at the big mausoleum, there's actually a huge statue, which is his grave. So it's a statue grave of Gene Hershot. So Gene Hershot was a pretty well-known actor. Gene Hershot was known for his portrayal of Dr. Christian in a radio series, Dr. Christian, way back in the day, I would say. Nielsen lived for several years in Fort Normand, the Northern Territory of Canada, where his father was a Royal Canadian Mounted Police officer. I don't know if they call them officers in Canada. His father was said to be not a nice guy, and that is why Leslie Nielsen always longed to escape from his father. Following his graduation from high school, Nielsen went to the Victoria School of Arts in Edmonton. He enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force at age 17. Though he was legally deaf, he wore hearing aids for most of his life. He trained as an aerial gunner during World War II. However, he was too young to be fully trained or sent overseas. Upon the war's end, he discharged and worked briefly as a disc jockey in Alberta. Before enrolling in the Lorne Green Academy of Radio and Arts in Toronto. I had no idea Lorne Green had his own little college there. While studying in Toronto, Nielsen received a scholarship to the neighborhood playhouse and noted, "I couldn't refuse, but I must say, when you come from the land of snow, goose, the moose, and wool to New York, you're bringing every ton of hayseed and country bumpkin that you could pack. As long as I didn't open my mouth, I felt a certain security, but I always thought I was going to be unmasked." It's interesting. It goes to show you everybody has their inner insecurities. Even Leslie Nielsen did. He moved to New York for the scholarship, studied theater and music at the neighborhood playhouse while performing in Summerstock. So Summerstock theater was what everybody used to do. I had a neighbor that used to do Summerstock also, and I had no idea what she was talking about, but she would always come outside, like watering the lawn. She'd be like, I'm doing Summerstock this year, and I'd be like, that's great. I can't even remember her name. I think her first name is B. I'd be like, that's great, B. And I didn't have the internet, so I couldn't look up what Summerstock was, but I had no idea it was theater. After Summerstock, he attended the Actors Studio until his first television performance in 1950 on the episode of Studio One alongside Charlton Heston, for which he was paid $75. That is $840 in today's money. Nielsen's career began in dramatic roles on television, appearing in 46 live programs. He said there was very little gold. We only got $75 or $100 a show. He narrated documentaries and commercials, and most of his work was uneventful. He appeared in MASH, 1973 it was MASH, as the character of the ring banger. I don't know what that means, but basically he hit his stride there with the supporting role in as Dr. Romack in the 1980s Airplane, followed up with Airplane 2. And pretty much that was what everybody knew him at, was his line, which was, "Surely you can't be serious." Yes, I'm serious, and don't call me Shirley. So here's a good quote from him. He said, "I'm afraid if I don't keep moving, they're going to catch me. I'm 81 years old, and I want to see what's around the corner, and I don't see any reason in the world not to keep working. But I'm starting to value my downtime and a great deal because I'm realizing there might be other things to do that I'm overlooking." That was in 2007. In 2010, he was admitted into the hospital at the age of 84, and he passed away in his sleep from pneumonia. He is interred at Fort Lauderdale's Evergreen Cemetery. I was in Fort Lauderdale a couple months ago. I wish that I had stopped by there. As a final bit of humor on his epitaph reads, "Let her rip." That was his. He loved fart jokes. Just to let you know, I had to find out why he had "Let her rip" on his tombstone. Like, subscribe. Let me know who else you want me to see. Check out Famous Graves on TikTok. Also, Famous Graves LA on Instagram.